Who believed in you before you believed in yourself? For me, it was the women who saw something in me when I was just starting out. 20 years and 5 businesses later, I'm still here because they lifted me up when I needed it most. I'm Tania Gomez, and this is She Shapes Tomorrow, brought to you by Tania Gomez Consulting and Kismet, proudly sponsored by SN Services. Every episode, we sit down with women who are changing lives, building communities, and raising up the next generation. Women who'll remind you what's possible when we stop trying to do it alone. This year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain, and these stories will show you exactly what that looks like. Let's get into it. Welcome to She Shapes Tomorrow, the International Women's Day podcast. I'm your host, Tania Gomez, and today I'm joined by Sarah Hunter. Sarah is the founder of Work Hard, Parent Hard, and an author dedicated to rewriting the rule books for working parents. After navigating her own return to work journey and finding a gap in honest, practical advice, she wrote the resource she wished she had. Now she champions a world where career ambitions and parenthood don't just coexist but fuel each other, advocating for better organisational support from pregnancy through to the teen years. Welcome, Sarah. It's so lovely to have you here.
Yay, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have a chat to you too, because I was lucky enough to be featured in your book, and we've chatted a number of times, but I don't really know the story behind it all. So I'm really was curious to find out more about where this came from and what that drive was. So I've been really looking forward to chatting to you too.
Amazing. Well, what do you want to know?
Well, I guess I wanted to start with the moments that make you who you are. And you said that while you were always a leader, you didn't really step into that role until you had children. And that's often when women do the opposite. They usually slow down. But for you, it seemed to be really a driving force. Tell me about that.
It really was. Well, look, my background is essentially in recruitment. So I was always quite successful in the recruitment space. And I was one of these really unlucky people that always seemed to be the person that everybody came to for help and guidance and whatever. But I was never there was always somebody that was going to get the leadership role over me. Do you know what I mean? So I just felt like I was always quite unlucky in that respect. And I always lacked a bit of confidence, I think, to really push myself and know what my worth was and what I was really good at. And I think it took for me to have children, and in particular to have twins, to really stop thinking about what others think or really care about what others think. So I created, a bit of I don't really care anymore. After I had the twins in particular, because you get so many comments and people's suggestions and viewpoints and how they would feel if they had twins, which is usually not a nice comment. And you kind of learn to just wash it all off. And I think that gave me the confidence to be like, right, I'm ready, let's go, and step up into a more leadership role.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. I had my first business when I was really young, before kids. When I was 21, I started a business, and I actually sold that business when I was 26, when I was pregnant with my first son, because I just couldn't see a world where I could work the billion hours that I was and have a baby. So I went back into a corporate role. I'm an early childhood teacher by background, so I went back into teaching early childhood at private education in private RTOs, and I stayed there for about 7 years and had 2 sons. And then when I was pregnant with my third son, I was trying to get pregnant with my third son and just got pregnant. I decided to go back into working for myself again. And almost everyone's reaction was, how could you possibly give up security when you're about to have your third child? And is starting a business when you're pregnant with your third child a smart thing to do? But for me, it just seems like an absolute no-brainer. I had 9 months of maternity leave. I had saved enough money to have 12 months off work. If I, I never get to 12 months because I really can't help myself. I love to work, but we had the financial buffer of me being able to take 12 months off work. And so we're like, right, I launched 2 businesses while I was pregnant with him. I've sold both of them now. And I ran them both for multiple years, sold one in November last year and one about 2 years ago. And both of those businesses were very successful. And I was able to run both of them with the 3 kids. Then I had a 4th. And for me, it was just the perfect opportunity of the worst thing that could happen here is it all goes pear-shaped and I go back to my job in 12 months. Like, exactly. What actually is there to lose?
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect time.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a challenge to try and juggle things, but I think mums innately have to do that even if they're not working, right? There's always a juggle.
I just think it's harder. Like, I've just personally found that being able to be in control of my own schedule, my own routine of what I need to do when. I mean, there have been times in the last 12 months where I am just so grateful that I can just decide what I want to do when I want to do it, because my children have inevitably taken up so much of my time in periods, which children do. We go through these peaks and troughs, and there was so many occasions where I was sitting there thinking, what on earth would I do if I was in a corporate 9-to-5 right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that way often. Between having 4 children, there is always someone who needs something. And I have
somebody to some appointment, or something is going on, or somebody is sick, it's just always non-stop. Yes.
Yeah, late last year, I had my oldest son who's 14. I had him break both his arms. And we'd never had a break. I think getting 3 boys to teenagers without a break is amazing in itself.
Well done. Well done.
I had a Halloween party for my 2 little ones who are 4 and 8, and we had about 50 kids at our house, and the 4-year-old's parents were there, but the 8-year-old parents had dropped off, and my 14-year-old took them trick-or-treating and did a trick on his bike outside our house and went over the handlebars and broke both his arms. And it was chaos because we had all these kids. My husband had to take him to hospital, and they were there. That was it. They were there for the next couple of days getting surgery and getting the casts on. And I had to manage all of these kids that I didn't know the 4-year-olds very well. I didn't know their parents very well because, you don't do much at preschool drop-offs. The 8-year-olds were, all there, and just trying to juggle all of that was chaos. But then I had the same thought. I had the thought around just how lucky I am that we can work from home and that we have the flexibility of, and my husband has, he doesn't work in our business anymore. He found working with me too hard. So he went back to a corporate job not too long ago. But he works 3 days a week. He has our daughter a day, and he has a day of doing other things. And for him to have the flexibility of have 2 days where he could do the doctor's appointments, and me being able to, I have Fridays with my daughter. So we have 3 days a week that are covered. I just can't imagine how we did, and I don't remember how we did it when we were both in corporate roles when we had the two older ones. But I feel that now I would really be happy to earn half the amount of money if it meant that we could have that flexibility and that time and not have to, I remember dropping my kids off sick to daycare and doing all those things that you have to do when you have a job. Not being able to have to do that is really changed the quality of life for me. And I feel it makes me a happier parent.
Yeah, I feel like it almost goes the opposite way, like if I don't have a really busy day on and my daughter's being a bit like, I just want a day off, I'm like, okay, do you want your mental health day for this term? And we'll go and do something fun today because I don't have any meetings. Let's go. And I love the fact that I have that flexibility to do that, and I'm there for them when I need to. But a similar thing, I just felt like I got to the point where I could have gone back to corporate, but we were paying so much money in daycare fees. It was like whatever I was going to earn, the more we'd end up paying. and I was always going to end up like actually earning nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, I might as well just start my own thing because I'm not earning any money anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think having that low pressure on you as well is like, well, if this works, then that's great. And if it doesn't work, we tried it.
Exactly. And you just go back to a corporate. There's always a job that you can go back to if it doesn't work. But if you don't try, you don't know.
What do you think was the biggest internal belief that you had to shift to go from being an employee to running your own thing?
I don't actually think it was an internal thing. It was, I've always struggled, I will say, with the red tape and the boundaries that come with a corporate role. I like to think outside the box. I like to create ideas. I love new ways of working and different ways of thinking. You know, I've got a creative mind, and I feel like I really struggled with those boundaries a lot. And I always knew I needed to work for myself. It was just a matter of time. So it wasn't necessarily an internal shift. It was something that was always there. It was more of a, okay, it's time to step into this part of me.
Yeah. Yeah. I started running my own business very young, and really loved it. And I did actually like going back to corporate for those 7 years, but I was running the show. And I feel like for me, I move so quickly and I have so many ideas. And although I am, an expert in a few areas, I do love being a generalist and being able to do a little bit of marketing and a little bit of sales and a little bit of service delivery and a little bit of this. And I'm not a very creative person as far as I can't draw or paint. I'm not artistic at all, but I feel like business is almost my creativity of being able to, create a new podcast or create a new event or create a new training program. Being able to sit down and create something from nothing feels like a big accomplishment to me. And I feel as a small business owner, that really is the place I can shine best, because I'm pretty good at most of those things, but I couldn't go and be a marketing agency for someone else, or I wouldn't want to go and be a teacher again, but I can do all the things I love.
Yeah. Variety, right? You just want a bit of everything. I want to do something different every day, and entrepreneurship absolutely enables that. So same thing, I was always quite bored doing the same role, doing the same thing. Like, it's just not me. So yeah, it was just it's time to let this part of me flourish. So that's what I did.
Now, take me through your books. You've said that one of your proudest achievements is your books, and that you had this idea because you really couldn't find any kind of advice on how to be both a good mum and work.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go down this path of creating this book, both books?
Well, after I had the twins, I did go back to work for a period of time. I was so specific about what I was willing to do and what I wanted. And, I teach a lot about manifestation and stuff. And this is actually really funny because I wrote a list and I ended up working in a role that was literally every single part of this list, right? Which is really funny. But I was like dead set. This is the only thing that I can do. There is no negotiation, because I've got 3 children that are little and that are at daycare, and I knew what my boundaries were very strongly. So I went back to work, and I ended up working as a sales director for a mindset consultancy who taught a really big mindset program. And as I was going through it and I was working, I was just forever like, how do people do this? Like, how do you get to work, come home, do all of the household jobs, cook the dinner, still spend time with your children? I was like, where is this? Like, how are people doing this? And I would be like researching, I would try and find things. And it was like, nobody talks about actually the juggle that is involved with working and being a parent. I just was like, there is minimal in this space. And so I was literally like, I'm going to write a book. And that's where it came from. The start of the shift, I guess, was the books, because I was like, this is just ridiculous. Like, how is there nothing? I want to know from high flyers how they have done this.
Yeah.
What's worked? What's not worked?
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't read the dad's book, but tell us, for someone who has no idea what the books are we're talking about, tell us about the books. Plug them a little bit for us.
Yeah, go. Well, one, which features the lovely Tania, is Working Mothers Inspiring Others. And it's essentially a collection of stories, and similar for the dad's book, Working Dads and Balancing Acts, 2 books that are collections of stories from working parents, and how it's worked. So what their childhood was and their upbringing, because I think that has a huge effect on how we parent ourselves. So there's a little bit around that, but also just what worked, what didn't, how it managed to happen, and a reflection, I guess, on what would have been done differently, and advice that you would give to other working parents and things like that. They are just incredible stories from a collection of mums and dads. And I love these books. I love them. Like, I read over these chapters so frequently for myself, just because I'm just like, okay, I remember that they did this really well. I'm going to look in the book and I'm going to read that chapter again and see how they did it, because it's just so interesting to see how people do it, the sacrifices people make, and what they've sacrificed in order to have that balance, and just the different ways that people parent. I just think it's really cool. So they're really, really good books. The dad's book in particular is very raw, and very moving, because there's a lot of regret in the dad's book that comes through.
Yeah. What was one of the most surprising things that you learned from the books about how people do manage to do both?
I think for me, it's actually a bit of a mindset of people that do it really well. Like, it's the ability to really integrate your work and your home life. I think that a lot of people feel like you have to put them into very separate buckets. But for me, I'm a mum of 3 children, and 50% of calls that I come on, my kids are probably going to pop up in the back, or they're going to come and say that they need the toilet, or they want a snack, or something's going to happen in calls. And I just own it and let it be, because if I want to do what I want to do, it comes with 3 kids. So I think it's just an element of understanding where those boundaries and limitations are, and being able to integrate as much as you can. And I love the fact that, from the other perspective, my children really see what I do for work, and I let them be involved in it, and I let them, come to things, and I let them see me speak, and I let them hear me on calls, etc., because I want them to learn, and I want them to see that, and I want to role model these behaviors for them as well. So for me, it really is about the integration of the two, and not just being like, this is work, this is home life. They've got to work in harmony. Otherwise, you're just going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. And you shared that you had quite a challenging journey through entrepreneurship, or through your businesses, with having a partner who really struggled with the risks that needed to be taken to run a business, and that it made it a real challenge for you. What can other women learn from that? I guess, how did you manage that, and what can other women learn from your experience?
Really, look, this is a big question, and it is something that I haven't spoken about yet. So this is the first time I'm really sharing this. So you're very fortunate, Tania. It's really difficult. And look, my children's dad is a beautiful human being. He's a lovely guy. There is nothing in terms of, you know, his basic characteristic. The issue that we had was that he is so risk adverse. He really could not cope with the things that I was doing. It was causing him so much stress and so much anxiety because it is not in his nature at all. So it obviously caused a lot of friction between us, because for me, I was like, I can't be held back. I need to, you know, I need to live my life's purpose and do what I want to do. And it was really challenging because, you know, as an entrepreneur yourself, it takes a lot of personal motivation to really keep pushing. There's always hurdles, there's always things that crop up, there's challenges along the way, and you really do need to keep that internal positive motivation to keep you going. That's very difficult when you live with somebody that isn't on the same page, because it's like you're pushing, and you're being pulled back all the time, which is really, really difficult. For me, it was really about making sure that I stayed true to myself and stayed true to what I knew I wanted to do for me. And the unfortunate side of that was that I just ended up not telling him a lot of things and not sharing a lot of things about what was happening and the journey that I was going on and stuff like that, which is not a healthy marriage. So, you know, we ended up separating in a very amicable way, purely because we are on two different pathways and we want very different things. But it was really about just staying really true to myself and being able to almost block out as much as I could to not be distracted from what I wanted to achieve. So staying really focused and almost trying to block out all the external noise as best as I could, which is very difficult to do. So, you know, now we've separated, it's such a funny feeling, because it's like this energy has come, the energy in my space has just completely shifted. And, you know, they say you are who you surround yourself, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with, right? And I really feel that, like really, really feel that. So it's been good because it's allowed me to kind of really grow as an individual. But it really is, you know, you've got to be with somebody that supports you and that is on the same page. And if it's not, it's okay. Like I don't hold a grudge against him or anything like that for the way that he is. He cannot help the way that he is, but I also can't help the way that I am, you know. So it's about really just understanding individuals and knowing what you can and cannot cope with and what you need for yourself, I guess. So yeah, it was a tough navigation, but I'm really proud of the way that we've both navigated it, to be honest, because, you know, now we're very amicable and we're great co-parents, and that's the best outcome, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think navigating something like that is really challenging. Do you think that it's a common thing for, I don't want to make this about boys versus girls, maybe it's more, so I'm trying to figure out in my head, you know, I've had challenges throughout different relationships in my life with people finding it challenging to deal with a successful businesswoman. You know, that can be challenging, you know, in friendship groups as much in relationships.
Absolutely.
But I'm also wondering, there's also the side of me, which I understand that as an entrepreneur, I take risks and I see risks differently.
Yeah.
And it might not be a man-woman thing. It might be a risk versus, you know,
100%.
thing.
I don't think it's a man-woman thing at all. I think it's a personality trait that comes from, you know, the way that you're raised, what you're exposed to, and how you see the world as an individual. Because, you know, a lot of, you see the level of entrepreneurship in the world, it's very male dominated compared to female. So you would assume that men are the ones that are greater risk takers. But then you look at myself and you that are like, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
No risk, no reward for me. I'm like, you know, if I want to get here, I'm not going to get to that by working in a corporate organization where I'm, you know, restricted to earning a certain amount of money and I'm having to work this X amount of time. You know, that's not the way I want to live my life. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily a male female thing at all.
My husband is much more risk adverse than me, but I'm not very risk adverse, so I'm not sure that that's really saying much. But yeah, I think it's, for me, I don't even see business really as a risk. Like, I can see, yes, that financially having someone else pay your salary is less of a risk than you. But the fact that I can earn in a month what I could earn in a year in a salary,
Yeah.
for me, it's not even a no-brainer. And I think for me, it's because I am so clear on my value or my capability. I know that I can make money. I know that I can sell things. I know that I've got skills that are valuable to other people, and I love to work. So for me, it's kind of like, it seems like a risk being in a corporate role where someone else tells me what to do, when I can do things, how I have to do things, and limits what I can earn, like you said, versus, okay, I can do my own thing. And yes, it requires me to work hard. And yes, it requires me to be responsible for these things. But any role I'm in, I take responsibility anyway. You know,
And you're always going to work hard, whatever you do, right? If it's in your nature, it's in your nature. So, yeah, I'm exactly the same. And I do, you know, it's, for me, it's this big gender equity thing. And I'm very passionate about that space. And it's a funny one for me because it's like, you know, I am really passionate and advocate a lot about this. And yet I was married to a man that is actually very traditional in his views as well. You know, he goes out to work, mum stays and does all the household things type thing. And it felt like a walking contradiction in a way, because I'm the one that's advocating for this balance and this integration, et cetera, but yet I wasn't living that at the same time. And it's really still noticeable where we have this gender assumption and these gender biases that women can't do that and that men can, or whatever. And the same goes with entrepreneurship and the things that we do. It's like, well, you can't do that because you're a female and you've got kids to look after, et cetera. So for me, I kind of enjoy the challenge of being like proving people wrong and being like, no, it doesn't have to be this way. And this is why, these views are why we don't have enough women doing these things, and we don't have enough women in leadership, et cetera, because we're not shaping women to feel like they can go out and do what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also still very societal. When we lived in Perth, I had just sold a business, and my husband retired at the time and was doing stay-at-home dad. We had a 2-year-old at home, and the feedback from his family and from general people when they're like, you know, oh, one also in Perth, because of the FIFO culture, there's a lot of mums who don't work and a lot of dads who earn very high salaries in the mines. And so I felt like I was strange being someone who liked to work. It was like, oh, you're working today. Oh, and it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you had to work all day. I feel so sorry for you. And I love my job. I love my job.
I love that. I've had a great day. Thanks.
And then on top of that, oh no, I'm not doing pickup. My husband's doing it because he's, you know, I wouldn't say retired, because, you know, at his age, it seems strange to say that we're retired. So I would say he's not currently working, and they'd be like, oh, he can't get a job. Oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, no, we actually don't need him to work right now because I've got it. And then people would be so confused by the concept of the mum's working and she's choosing to work. Does she not like her children? Oh, she must be a bad mum. And it's like, no, I'm still there for my children. I think I was still breastfeeding at the time. I'm still breastfeeding my daughter. I'm still working from home, but I can make money and I like to do what I do, and I have a flexible job. So why, you know, and Perth house prices are very affordable. So we can, you know, we don't have a mortgage when we're living in Perth. So we don't actually have to worry about quite a lot of costs. But it was very confusing for other people. And I really saw that actually my husband is a little bit traditional, but actually he just was impacted by society, and he's gone back to work now, as I said earlier. But I found that the comments from other people around what you should do and what work should look like, it's still very ingrained that women have a role and men have a different role.
Yeah, 100%. So, you know, a part of what I do is challenging that as well. You know, the workshops that I deliver, the things that I go into corporate organizations is to challenge that, because I'm just like, it's just not the way anymore. And there are so many women that really want to go back to work and that want to have that purpose, because there's, I don't know about you, but out of my friendship group, there is nobody that is like, I love being a stay-at-home mum.
Yeah.
They just all love the balance or the integration of working and having that time with their children. You know, the part-time is the absolute creme de la creme, but they all like doing stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it's contributing to society, but it's also testing yourself, using your skills, feeling capable, feeling confident. And I remember after having my second son, I think one of the boys, my husband was working really long hours. He was commuting far to work, and he came home one day, and I threw whichever child at him, and I had like an hour-long shower, and he was like, that was a bit dramatic. What's going on? And I was like, I hate that all I have to show for today is that, you know, that the house is exactly how you left it in the morning, but you don't even notice that I spent all day keeping it this way, and all I've got to show for it is an empty dishwasher. I need to be doing more.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, he doesn't understand it because he doesn't love work like I. He would be happy to clean the dishwasher all day. That would be his jam. But recognizing that and him going, okay, you need more. And he was earning a lot more money than me at the time, and he did take he didn't keep progressing in his career so that I could take some risks, so that, you know, we had more of a balance and tried to work it out. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to get all those things right. And there are times where my husband and I are on completely different pages about it, and it's a real challenge. And there's times where everything works beautifully together. And it's just trying to get, you know, get on the same page, get on, you know, think about what are our priorities, how do we do this together, what does our life, our whole lives look like, and how do you achieve that?
Yeah, and I think that's what everybody needs, is that ability to really look at the bigger picture and to look outside of the four walls of your house and your office of whatever you do for work, and to see what that bigger picture is. Especially as a mum, you need to be able to know your boundaries. Like, where do I start to feel guilty and where do I feel okay? You know, what's important? How many school drop-offs do you want to do to feel good about your week? How many are you happy to not be doing? You know, and it's as simple as that, but it makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. My husband said something to me recently about just hire someone to do the drop-offs or pickups. And I was like, no, that actually would make me feel like I'm not a good mom. And I don't want judgment to
anybody. That's not okay for me. Yeah.
And we had au pairs when we had the first two, and we were both working full time. We had au pairs help, and they did all those things, and it was very helpful. And so there's no judgment. But for me now, I would way prefer to earn a little bit less money and be there for the drop-offs and the pickups, and say no to that extra client, because at the moment I'm not financially motivated, because I've sold 3 businesses in my life, and we're okay. So I would prefer to do things that I like to do that are within my terms and be really clear. And, you know, it's 14 years since I've worked a Friday. This is how old my son is. And my daughter goes to school this year for the first time, and it'll be the first time I have everyone in school. And I'm going to, you know, and I had that thought of, do I keep my Fridays off, or do I work 5 days, shorter days, you know, so I can be there for drop off and pick up? And my husband's like, have Friday to yourself. And I was 100%. Like, oh, could I do that? You know, would I? You know, I'm still navigating. You know, maybe check back with me in a couple of months.
See how you go. But no, I do think it's really important to have that time for you. And I'm the same. So the twins start full-time school this year, and I don't think I'm going to know myself. I'm like, I've been trying to pull things together on like 10, 15 hours of work a week because the rest of the time I was with the kids.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because I'm like, oh, this new chapter it's bittersweet, isn't it? You're like, oh, I'm going to miss those days with them. But I'm like, I've been lucky and fortunate enough to have that time, and now it's back to career.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think being really clear that those things are important to me, and that, my husband asked me the other day, why are you already worrying about school uniforms and school shoes? And I was like, because it makes me feel organized and it makes me feel less stressed. It's not actually that they think they're going to need them tomorrow. I know we've still got a few weeks of school holidays, but it is about how it makes me feel and the stress I feel when those things aren't done. So I think that reflective piece on what I actually need to feel okay as a mum, I think that's really, really key.
Yeah, 100%.
The theme for International Women's Day in 2026 is Give to Gain. What does that mean for you in the context of your life?
I love this theme because I feel like I really embody this a lot. I do a lot of mindset stuff, and I'm really big on energy, and what you give in the world is what you give back, is what you get back. So give to get for me has so much meaning because I really do think what you give is what you're going to get. So the more that we can give in terms of support, confidence for women, really helping women in particular and men to identify what we've talked about, that the ability to really identify what it is that you want and what you need in your life, what's going to fill your cup. What do you need in terms of being a mother if you're a mother? What do you need if you are a sports fanatic and you need to do sport? Whatever it is, knowing what it is that you need is essential, because when you can give, that is what you're going to get back. What you're giving out in the world and what you're thinking about, what you're manifesting is what you're going to get back. So for me, that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you were to reflect back on the person you are today, would there be any advice or any words of wisdom that you would give to Sarah, who is just starting out in both motherhood and in business?
Oh goodness, how long's the list? Oh goodness, there'd be so much. I think starting a business when my children were babies, and actually really using that time, because you mentioned this earlier that 12 months was just way too long for maternity leave, and it was way too long for me. And there was this fine line between, I feel like the first 6 months with all three of mine, I was like, I never want to leave them. I love them. Like, they'll just be a baby forever. And then that 6 to 9 months, I was like, okay, feel like I need to do something here. I'm getting a bit itchy, like I just need to do something. And then that 9 to 12 months for me, both times I felt like I was almost a bit depressed and went into this, cycle of just the Groundhog Day every day, and the feeling that I didn't have much purpose, and feeling like I just don't need to spend all day every day with my children at this point. And I love them dearly, but I needed to do more for me. So I think for me, it would be really identifying that and doing something with that time.
Yeah. I made it 5 months with my first son, and my second son, when he was born, I was running an RTO, and we had all these audits coming up, and I had hired 2 people to do my role. We split my role in 2 while I was on maternity leave, and we had 2 people, and they both resigned about 3 weeks before our audits were starting. I think we had 3 audits booked for the second half of that year. So I went back to work at about 4 months with him, and I just wore him
work. He just came with me, and wasn't my business, but we were a childcare college, luckily. And so we had childcare students everywhere, and the auditors were auditing a childcare college. So I wore him through 3 audits. The auditors would pick him up, hold him. The receptionist would hold him when he was asleep. I would hold him when he was awake, or would take turns and be walked around the building by the students.
I love it.
And we just made it work. And with my 3rd and 4th son, because of my 3rd son and my 4th daughter, I did take a break and step back a bit, but I was still able to work on a few little things here or there. And I think I enjoyed that.
Mind.
Yeah.
Mind stimulated. Yeah.
What would be the one thing that you want women listening to this today to take away with them when it comes to how do they make being a mum and working actually work?
You've got to be confident in what it is that works for you. You've got to know your boundaries. You've got to know what you really want, and you've got to have the confidence to make that happen.
Yeah, that's great advice. My last question for you today is, where can people find out more about your books and follow on your journey with Work Hard, Parent Hard?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. Or you can find me on my website, which is www.sarahmcconaughey.com.au. It needs to change. Might be changed soon. Who knows?
And you'll be at our Perth International Women's Day event.
I will, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, and can't wait to see you there. So thank you so much for your time, Sarah. It's been so great.
Thank you, Tania. Lovely to see you.
Wasn't today's guest amazing? Imagine being in a room with over 100 women like her. That's our 2026 International Women's Day events, happening across Western Sydney, Gold Coast, Adelaide, and Perth this March. You'll meet women building businesses you want to learn from. Leaders are solving problems you're facing right now, and the kind of people who become your text at midnight support system. That's not networking, that's give to gain. Find your event at taniagomez.com.au. I'll be there, and I hope you will be too.